If ever you want evidence or an example of a building that young people feel totally at home in, totally feel like they own, then I would say that the Roundhouse is that building. I went down there last week to talk to Naomi Thomas, who's one of the youth advisory board members at the Roundhouse, and I wanted to know about how she became involved in the Roundhouse and what music organisations need to do if they're keen to recruit young people to work with them.
Hi, I'm Cecilia and I work at the Roundhouse as the Youth Engagement Officer. So I sit within the Youth Engagement team and part of my job is to chair the Youth Board. So I'm going to introduce you to a member of the Youth Board, Naomi.
Hi, I'm Naomi and I currently sit on the Youth Board with Cecilia, and I also do a number of courses here at the Roundhouse.
So Naomi, first of all, what motivated you to get involved in the Roundhouse?
So the thing that got me involved was I was doing a course in Newham, a summer project, and the Roundhouse came to our course and recruited a few of us to come over here and do the Dramathon, which was a 12-hour drama project. So they literally poached us over from Newham, and that's how I got involved.
And have you done lots of other projects here as well?
At the Roundhouse, yeah, I've done like a massive range of projects. So. Yeah.
Cool. And so after doing those projects, what motivated you to get involved in the Youth Board?
I think because I was doing so many different projects, I wanted to be more involved with how they were organised and how we got feedback from those projects. I think there was one project I did where they asked us for feedback, and I thought that was a really good idea, and I wanted to get involved with that more regularly. So, yeah.
Cool. So why do you think young people might want to get involved in an arts venue or music venue such as the Roundhouse or other venues like that?
I think when you're quite young, say under 16, it's a really good place to just hang out and make friends and spend your summer holidays and half terms. But now that I'm in my 20s, I find that it's good to gain more experience in terms of getting a career. So there's projects I've done through here where I've been able to be mentored by people who work for the BBC and make our own programmes, build up a portfolio, so those kind of things, yeah.
And just the last question, what do you think organisations need to include or emphasise to make what they're offering compelling to young people?
I think there's lots of different ways they can do it. So here at the Roundhouse, one of the festivals they do is a spoken word festival called The Last Word, and for that, as part of their marketing, they ran a project alongside it called the Street Team, and I was on that, and they got us to do the marketing for the project, which meant that they had a group of people who were their target audience who could work on something, so they got a benefit out of it. But then we also gained a lot of experience in marketing, and if I ever need a reference for a marketing job, I now have someone that I can ask. And then this week I'm volunteering as part of the Roundhouse Rising Festival. So at the moment I'm helping with setup and talking to people and finding out how it's run, with the aim of next year the festival should be completely run by young people. So I would say that arts organisations, if they get people involved where you really have an influence and can gain experience from it, then young people will want to be involved with their projects.
Brilliant, thank you so much.
Great, so hopefully you've all managed to have a look at that video. So I've been joined in the studio this afternoon by our two panellists for this afternoon. On my right is Emily Kerr, who's marketing manager for the Roundhouse's youth program, isn't it? So thank you very much, Emily, for coming down this afternoon, for joining us. And next to Emily, we have Tatenda Musengawa, who is Client Services Director at YouthSight, which is a marketing agency that specialises in working with young people.
Yeah, more market research and insight agency.
Great.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, both of you, for coming down this afternoon. Really, really appreciate it. So today's Hub Chat is all about young audiences, and more specifically about how organisations and why music organisations should work with young people, might want to work with young people to help build those audiences. You've obviously got two very different sort of sets of experience here. You know, somebody who's working in a music organisation, somebody who's working in a research agency context. I wonder if we could draw on those experiences first of all, and I wanted to ask you to do two things. First of all, talk about how you involve young people in the work that you do, and then secondly, also if you could give us some thoughts on why you think, assuming that you do those, why you think that it's good for music organisations to involve young people if they're trying to build young audiences. Emily, could we start with you?
Yeah, sure. So obviously the Roundhouse is a big music venue. People know us for big rock gigs that we put on, but we do a lot of work with young people as well. And we have a programme for 11 to 25-year-olds where they can come and gain skills in creative areas, including music. We have a range of studios where young people can book out really cheaply, practice their bands, things like that. So alongside kind of trying to get young people involved in coming to see work, we're also giving them the opportunity to pick up skills and teach them things as well. And I think that's why you were saying about how it really feels like the Roundhouse is a natural home for young people. We really benefit from that. I think it's not an intimidating place to come to because there's so many young people hanging out at that time, you know, just kind of getting stuck in, and it feels like it's their building.
Can you tell me a bit about the Youth Advisory Board?
Yes.
How you work with them?
So it's kind of really in our kind of our brand and our values and everything about the Roundhouse. The thing we always say is that young people are at the heart of our organisation, and any kind of project or decision that is made it should involve young people. And like the key way we do that is through our Youth Advisory Board. We have a group of 16 to 25-year-olds who meet every month and will feed into the programming decisions that we make, and general kind of decisions around the studios. And two of those that board will sit on our general board of trustees, so they're literally feeding right into the you know.
So it's not just lip service; it's properly happening.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Tatenda, could you talk to me a little bit about the way that you work with young people?
Yeah, sure. So we are a full-service research agency. So as part of that, we provide insights into the youth market for government, brands, public policymakers, basically anyone that wants to understand the youth market. But how we work with young people is a bit different. We actually have the UK's largest youth panel, about 130,000 young people, aged about 16 to 30, primarily 16 to 24. And we actually engage with them on a continual basis for research projects. So that can stretch anything from doing quantitative research projects, such as surveys, all the way to focus groups and some full service insight as well as that. In terms of what we do beyond that, we actually see ourselves more as a collaborative agency. So we like to say we are intermediaries, or we help facilitate the process for brands or our clients to work with young people. And for us, this is something that is not something that's just nice to do, but it's actually something we believe is the best way to actually get young people today. I'm sure you guys know young people are very honest, and they're very clear about knowing what is honest and what isn't. So for us, involving young people in the process of developing strategies and plans is important to come across authentic if you're a brand or client trying to actually engage with, essentially. And that's kind of our ethos and how we do our projects.
Yeah, and I love
a consultation process.
I was looking after we spoke. I was looking at the Bright Young Mind work that you do, and what I loved about that was you had these three words: so inspire, hack, and validate. And you had this idea around sort of crowdsourcing ideas, and then this idea of sort of stress testing them through the hack process, which I thought was really interesting.
Exactly. So a lot of the clients we work for are some heritage brands, for instance, and sometimes they don't quite know what will work in the youth space. So the idea behind hacking is sort of retrofitting and testing and seeing if something works with young people and they can actually buy into it. So that process invariably needs to have young people involved. You can't just go off in your own separate silo and go and come up with an idea and not test it and see if young people can actually engage with it.
So thinking, obviously it's very different what you're doing, it's in a market research context. What would you, is there anything you would say to music organisations, small organisations, stretched resources? Do you think it's still a good idea for them to take elements of what you're doing, or to build on what Emily's saying that they do at the Roundhouse?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I understand budgets are constrained, but I think you can still do stuff very much from the ground up and build that buzz and excitement. Ultimately, it's not really about money, it's about getting young people excited about something. And if you find out who you want to talk to and get the right people involved, such as influencers, that isn't necessarily such a hard thing to do. It's just finding the right pockets in the market.
Okay.
I think potentially, I would say as well, as a kind of creative organisation, also these smaller venues, they might find it easier to kind of get young people involved, because it's not the same ask as a kind of marketing agencies that say, come and help us with it. It's almost like, you come see our gigs, or you like our bar and hanging out there, can we get you involved in something?
It's more natural.
Potentially. So maybe you could use that as a
And just picking up on that, so what would you say the people that are working at the Roundhouse, people like Naomi who was talking earlier, what do they gain from being involved?
in terms of their general experience.
Yeah. Why would I'm thinking? Why would they do that? Why would they want to come? And do it?
Definitely. I think. I mean, there's so many different reasons, and but I do think it's a really important thing in terms of marketing. Whenever we're trying to, any audience, you're always thinking, what are they actually going to gain out of this? The Roundhouse, you're getting a community, so we have so many different. For young people to get involved in our projects or in insight sessions or anything like that, you'll get involved with lots of different exciting people all trying to do their own thing, and kind of you see people forming connections, poets starting to talk to musicians, starting to work with people with tech knowledge and coming together and form things. And then we also really try and ensure there's kind of progression routes as well for young people involved, whether that is our RIAB members, seeing if we can get them performance opportunities. We have an in-house resident artist scheme, which is about 100 of the young people that we've been working with really closely across the last few years, kind of identifying how we can support them and giving them performance opportunities. So it's just making sure that they're getting some value back in return.
And on a really practical level, what kinds of things are they doing? How are you involving them?
The literal opportunities, I guess in decision-making meetings, we had a session just this week with the design agency and a group of young people where we were actually interrogating branding and language, and they got the opportunity to sort of hang out in cool offices and meet some designers, and one of them's already approached them about work experience. So I guess it's just that access to industry is really valuable, and making contacts and networks.
Anything that you...
Yeah, that's very much what we found. I think sometimes in certain situations there are extrinsic motivations to be involved with young people, such as cash, but actually we find it's more effective if they can have access to industry contacts and just be involved in something that they don't necessarily get involved in on a day-to-day basis, such as working on a project for Nike or Puma or some of the clients that we work with. It's quite exciting, to enjoy it, be part of that process essentially.
Sounds like the two of you should be talking as well about getting some of the guys down to YouthSight.
Maybe.
Bringing people together all the time.